Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, we're going to be talking about when your boyfriend or husband dismisses your need for foreplay. And this is something, women write in with this fairly frequently. I have an article about it, about husband's foreplay technique is lacking. You could look that up on Dr. Psych Mom. And I did a post on when your boyfriend won't go down on you, which is related. Of course, as I discussed, going down on you is not foreplay. Foreplays before any genital contact. You may need a refresher if you don't remember that. Go back to oral sex on women or what female arousal looks like. But anyway, so we were also talking about this topic in my Facebook group. You should join my Facebook group if you like to listen to people's stories and share some of your own and just discuss a lot of the topics that I like to discuss. So anyway, what do you do if your boyfriend will not go? Oh, and before I get into the meat of the episode, please do, of course, subscribe. Because if you subscribe, you can get the oral sex on women episode, as well as, let's see, what was the most recent one? When you have implicit rules about what you can share in couples therapy. And then the next one is going to be a subscriber episode. This time I gave you 3 free ones before the next one. Usually it's 2. And I'll just decide whatever the hell that one's going to be on the spot from whatever interesting things come up in my mind and my group, etc. So, and if you are in my group, of course, you have some more input as to what I do, as what I make videos about and podcasts and all that. Okay, so now, don't marry this man if this is a boyfriend. So a boyfriend who dismisses your need for foreplay, get out of Dodge. Like, you don't need this shit in your life. You could refer back to the when your boyfriend won't go down on you. Just leave. Like, if a man that you are not even sharing a life with yet, that's in the honeymoon stage with you, or he should be because it's the first few years, if he doesn't want to touch your body to get you aroused, why are you with him? I'll tell you why you're with him. Because you probably saw your mother get treated like shit, or you got treated like shit yourself. And I have the most empathy for you. You grew up in a dysfunctional family. And it's very hard to break those patterns. And unfortunately, when you grow up and you don't get treated well, then you're attracted to people later in life who don't treat you well, with the fantasy being that you're going to get them to treat you well in ways that you could never get your parents to treat you well. Or a way you're going to not replicate your mother's life, you're going to have a different life. You're going to get an asshole, but you're going to change him into someone who's not an asshole, unlike what she could do with your father, the asshole, the unrelenting asshole. So I've seen this so many times. It's so obvious. You're not going to be with a man who refuses to touch your body if you got treated well. I mean, come on, men are begging their wives to touch their breasts, to touch their body, to kiss them, to be in bed with them for a long time, to make them happy. And then you get this one that will barely roll over and fuck you. No, this is not what you deserve. No, he himself probably grew up in the same kind of situation, but he modeled himself after the asshole in the situation. So he likely grew up seeing a man who was mean to a woman, his father mean to his mother. And now he's mean too, and dismissive of anything that requires too much of his time and his effort. He doesn't want to ever be in the one down position with you, and somehow he's associated putting in too much effort in bed with being in a one down position. So there are no nice guys who refuse foreplay. Let me tell you that much. They're just like there is not really, my video that blew up on TikTok was there are no loving, kind women that refused any physical affection. It's like it can't happen. And I always do my loving and kind within the relationship. They could be loving and kind parents or something. But there's no woman who could say, I'm a loving wife. I just refuse to hug, kiss, touch my husband. I won't do it. Okay, there could be a loving wife who will cuddle, but who has had sexual trauma and is terrified of sex, or has trauma related to literally vulvodynia or something like this, vaginismus, and can't have sex, right? Or who is ill and can't have sex, or who is postmenopausal and can't have sex. But you cannot be a loving wife. You can't say you're a loving wife. You know that your husband has a physical touch love language, but you just can't bring yourself to hug him. then you're not. You're not being a loving wife. So very similarly, a man who will only, after being asked, so it's not that he's stupid, so he could, believe me, both genders can be extremely stupid in bed. I have a post titled, Your Smart Spouse May Know Much Less Than You Think About Sex. I see this every day in my office, right? People say, it would go without saying that, a man would not just ram a finger into my vagina before I'm lubricated, and he must be doing it to be an asshole. And the man looks at her like she has 3 heads. This is what he sees in porn. He thought he's doing good. He thought that was foreplay, for Christ's sake. So he's not being stupid in this case. We're talking about a situation in this episode where you say to your husband, your boyfriend, your husband, if it's a boyfriend, I hope they're gone already. I hope you dump them in the middle of me talking. But if it's a husband that you've said to him, I think I would like things to take a little longer. Maybe we could do a little more kissing. I wish that you would touch me a little bit more. Then I think that I could get warmed up more. And then you've sent him links to my Foreplay podcast or what have you. And he says, no, I don't. And this is real for all the guys listening who put women on a pedestal and can't even believe this would happen. All the preoccupied attachment men. There are the avoidant attachment men who say, sounds like a lot of work, honestly. I think things should be more organic. I like things to be a bit more spontaneous, so I don't think that I will be doing that. And, I really rather it was, more like, for example, this porn video. Like, I show you this one. Like, here, this is what I think sex is supposed to be like. So I don't really think that you need or want or even kind of know what you're saying. And I don't like it either way. So we're just going to go straight to the main event. And yes, there are men who say shit like that and say even worse stuff like that. Like, that's boring, or, maybe if you lost weight, or I'm not really into that. Maybe if you look different. And there's all sorts of pieces of shit, right? And of course, they hurt people, as they say. And all of these guys probably grew up in shit homes, and I feel for them. But I don't feel for the part where they're acting like, pretty emotionally abusive, right? And so I have obviously just as little patience for the women that invalidate men's need for sex, which I talk about all the time. I have a podcast post about when your wife is condescending about sex or something. I have like 15 of those, so you could go look for any of them. But anyway, so guys say this shit, and if it's your husband, the next thing you should say is, I really feel hurt by what you just said. I'm trying to have a good sex life. Our sex life is lacking from my perspective. I don't really enjoy myself because it never lasts for long enough, and I think that I deserve to have a good sex life. And so I don't want to have sex anymore unless you're willing to try other things that could potentially help me enjoy myself. And then you don't have sex anymore until he wants to play ball. If he says, well, then fuck it, we won't have sex. Well, look, then really, who are you with? Who are you with? You're with somebody that is unkind. So perhaps you could try couples counseling. Perhaps you just shouldn't. It really depends where you are in your life, as there are very many pragmatic issues. If it's going to go different if you're like, I have 2 little kids and you're pregnant with a 3rd, and your husband acts like a dick, that's a different stage of life, and you're a lot more scared to switch things up and leave him than when you are 10 years down the road, right? So, and you're already back to work and you're feeling like a person again and not so dependent on him. People are at very different stages. You should never tolerate somebody being nasty to you, but there are situations where women are going to have more courage to advocate for themselves than others, The point, though, is that if you are with somebody who talks down to you in this way and then expects to roll over and have sex at you, because that's kind of what it is in the absence of any kind of foreplay, for a woman who needs foreplay, when there isn't any, then it's like, it feels like dancing with no music. It's like you're not even dancing at all, and it's like a different activity of some sort that seems to be completely divorced from sex, and this could be the case even if she has an orgasm, because she could kind of go away in her mind. She can make enough of a fantasy, and if a woman knows how to have an orgasm, then she could give herself an orgasm. But has nothing to do with the man. If the man refuses to engage in foreplay, then it's really like it's not sex at all for women who need a warm up, and this is the majority of women. So anyway, if you're if your husband doesn't know what foreplay is, then you can tell him, I would like you to touch my breasts. I want you to touch my face. I want you to stroke my body. I'll tell you when we're ready to move to the next thing. And when he tries to move to the next thing, you say, oh, not yet. Like, I want it to last like this. This is great, right? But if he has to learn, good, fine. Everybody has to learn something sometime. But if he says no, and there's some women that say, well, he refuses to touch me. He refuses to give me any foreplay. I've instructed him. I've tried to tell him. I've tried to hint. He refuses. He says that he's just really not into that. But he's really nice otherwise. Yeah, really? He's really nice otherwise? I will bet you $1 million that he's not really nice otherwise. It just doesn't. It's like saying, oh, that guy, the one that just kicked the dog? Oh, he's a great guy. He's just like bad with dogs, you know? He just hit that dog and kicked the dog because, you know, he has a dog thing. It's so weird, dog thing. He's just like a really great guy. No, he's not. He's not a really great guy. He's a fucking dog kicker, right? And so the guy who refuses to engage in foreplay with a wife who's asking for it is not a really nice guy. They're just not, you know? And your wife that laughs at your need for sex, she's not really nice either, you know? I mean, she's not really nice. It's the truth. A person who is mean to another person, that behavior needs to be taken into account in the whole construct of them as a person. And people refuse to do this because it makes them way, way too uncomfortable. They love to compartmentalize because it makes it feel better, like that you didn't pick somebody who is abhorrent, you know? And sure, they're not an entirely bad person, you know, but there's only really so nice the dog kicker can be, like, right? Because we still like have to average in that he's a dog kicker, right? And so it's really, you know, how average is really, they'll pull down the whole number there, right? So, you know, it may not be the median, it may not be the mode, but, you know, still you have to account for giving him the dog kicking score, which is a 0, will really pull down the average of what a nice guy he is. So it's the same thing with this. Like, there's only so nice that your husband can be if you're begging him to touch your body and he won't do it. So then maybe you got to zoom out and be like, am I in fact married to an asshole? Just like my parent was? And the thing that I most didn't want to think about and that I didn't want to confront in my own mind is that he really is an asshole? Well, let me think. What if Dr. Psych Mom is right? What if God came down and said he is an asshole? Then what other proof would I have for him being an asshole? Let me think about it. Oh, I guess he's kind of a dick to the kids too, you know. But that's only when he's angry. But I mean, he's angry like, you know, most days. Some days he's not. I don't remember any like right now. But I mean, so every day he's kind of angry, and I guess he's happy. But that's only when he gets to do what he wants, which he always does. Now that I think about it, when does he really do anything that he doesn't want to do? Oh, that's the times he gets really angry, is when he has to do something he doesn't want to do. I promise you that the man who's saying I refuse to touch your breasts, and yes, there are these men, is kind of an asshole writ large, you know? I mean, that's how it is. And when people are nasty to you and they refuse to engage in kind ways, even if you ask them to, then you have to sometimes consider the possibility that they are just an unhappy, angry, mean person who I am sure got treated like shit, and that's why they are how they are earlier in their life as a kid, and I feel for them, but that doesn't mean you need to take their shit. So there's more women who will, and why I'm focusing on this is some women will be like, oh no, just not having any foreplay, that's not a reason for couples counseling. Well, A, wrong, that is a reason. But B, it's not just that, it's never just that. And I say the same thing to men who are like, oh, my wife is really great, we just never have sex. Like, we just don't. We don't because she says that shouldn't matter to me. So, you know, then, but she's really great. Oh yeah, she's really great. What does she do for you? Oh, for me? I don't know. What does she do for me? Oh, it's an interesting question. Oh, but she does a lot for the children. Yeah, okay, she's a good mother. But let's talk about wife again. What does she do for you? Oh, for me, oh, well, this one time she threw me a party. I mean, it's funny because I told her I hate parties, but, you know, the kids, she told me, you know, we should have these events for the children. I totally agree. She's a great mom. All right, yeah, but what does she do as a wife? Oh, well, I mean, she's had a rough decade, with this past, I guess, now, and I think about maybe like 16 years, that's been rough for her. So, a lot of stress. The kids are 16 years old, so come on, man. Your wife isn't nice to you. And the same exact thing with this man who refuses foreplay. He's just not that fucking nice. He just is a dick. So get into couples counseling and deal with it and figure out if you want to stay with this person. And maybe if they see that you're not taking their shit anymore, then they will really have the fear of God in them. And maybe they could actually do the work to change. And this is in any situation when you're partnered with somebody who just actually, if there was a video in your house, a video camera, anybody watching it would be like, what a jerk this man/woman is. If you're partnered with one of those people, you should be in couples counseling. You really should. So I hope that this was a wake-up call that went far beyond the foreplay idea, but thankfully everybody will have listened to it because the podcast I have with sex in the title of any sort, everybody listens to. Those get 1,000+ listens. Any other thing, it's like, it's really catch can. All right, so I'll talk to y'all soon, and I hope that you enjoy this. Please do subscribe.